According to established history, we didn't even discover Antarctica until 1820. We didn't map its actual landmass buried under miles of ice until the mid-20th century. Yet, a map exists that shows this impossible reality. It was drawn in 1513, 300 years too early. It is known as the Piri Reis map, and its accuracy regarding the South Pole has terrified mainstream historians for a century. Because for this map to be real, our entire timeline must be a lie. It proves that an unknown civilization possessing advanced technology mapped the bottom of the world before the ice arrived. But who were they, and where did they go? Our story doesn't begin in the ancient world, but in 1929, in a crumbling Turkish library. A German historian, while cataloging ancient documents, found a fragment of gazelle skin. It was the work of a famed Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis. The date? 1513. For its time, it was a marvel, but Reis was no explorer. He confessed in his own notes that he hadn't drawn the map from personal observation. He had compiled it from 20 even older source maps. The primary puzzle was Reis's extreme accuracy. His map features the Atlantic Ocean, the coast of Africa, and a stunningly detailed South American shoreline. Remember, this is 20 years after Columbus. Most of the New World was still a void. Yet, Piri Reis's accuracy rivaled 20th century technology. But this was just a warm-up. The true anomaly, the one that makes this map forbidden, lay further south. As Reis's map moves below South America, the coastline bends and then connects directly to a massive continent. It is Antarctica. The problem isn't that he drew Antarctica. The problem is that he drew Antarctica perfectly connecting to South America. This land bridge did exist, but the last time it was visible was 11,000 years ago, before the Great Ice Melt. The detail Reis provided was staggering. His source maps didn't show a frozen white wasteland. They showed a detailed shoreline, mountain ranges, and flowing rivers. For centuries, historians dismissed this as a mistake or imagination. Then, in the 1960s, the U.S. Navy utilized seismic sounding technology. They mapped Queen Maud Land, the actual ground under the ice cap. When they compared their high-tech results to the 1513 Piri Reis map, they were an exact match. This is the single most terrifying implication in alternative history. Seismic mapping cannot be done with a compass and a sextant. The Reis map accurately charts geography that has been buried under 2 miles of ice for millennia. This paradox was ignored until Professor Charles Hapgood began examining the map. He saw past the mistake and asked, who mapped a tropical Antarctica? Hapgood realized that only 2 possibilities exist. Either the Ottomans were lying and they actually possessed technology decades ahead of modern science, or their source maps came from a lost advanced civilization. Hapgood hypothesized that the original cartographers must have flourished around 11,000 BCE. They must have mapped the Earth before the last ice age was complete. He even proposed a physical mechanism, a sudden displacement of the Earth's crust that threw the once habitable tropical Antarctic landmass into the extreme South Pole. If a civilization was alive then, they witnessed the disaster. Hapgood's study, however, revealed a deeper puzzle. The Piri Reis map isn't just accurate, its geometry is impossible for 1513. When analyzed by mathematical experts, they realized the map used a precise spherical trigonometry projection. To draw this, you must have advanced knowledge of the Earth's curvature, knowledge that would not exist until centuries later. If you value truth over hype and are willing to explore the redacted, join us by subscribing. But spherical trigonometry requires a reference point. Using modern calculations, researchers traced the projection center. It wasn't in Istanbul or Europe. It was centered directly on the Great Pyramid of Giza. This geometry means whoever drew the source maps knew the size and shape of the planet thousands of years before Galileo. They had to, otherwise the map's geometry would have failed the mathematics of projection. They didn't just guess, they possessed advanced spherical mapping technology. If the Piri Reis map is real, we are forced to accept that an Atlantis-level civilization existed before recorded history. But mainstream history requires that ancient peoples were simple hunter-gatherers. To accept the map is to accept that our history is redacted data. This is why institutions like the Smithsonian historically dismissed Hapgood's work. The implications break the established linear model of human progress. The final, chilling implication is this. If Hapgood is correct and Antarctica was mapped 11,000 years ago, what was it then? Was it a global hub for a maritime civilization that thrived while Europe was a simple ice sheet? The true mystery of the Piri Reis map isn't just its accuracy. It is the echo of what was lost. We are not the first advanced people to map this sphere. The question isn't if they existed, but why they vanished, leaving us only a fragment of gazelle skin to find their ghost. The Piri Reis map is a riddle etched on a void. We cannot explain it using our current understanding of ancient capabilities. We must look closer at the forbidden maps or risk repeating the mistakes of the civilization that drew them. Join us in our next lab report, where we decode the Smithsonian's most protected secret, a redacted map of the Grand Canyon.